Hey everyone, it's Hannah. I wanted to quickly ask if you are enjoying the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way in getting the show in front of other listeners. If you listen on a platform that doesn't do reviews, please follow us on social media, like the show, or leave a comment. Thank you. We love you guys, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Not to mention we're in the wrong seats.
I know.
I mean,
Everything is wrong.
everything is wrong. I guess, being backwards, it's perfect for a backwards episode. Meaning, you're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. Tonight, I'm your host, Katy.
And I'm Hannah.
And everything is awkward and weird.
So backwards. Oh, man. To recap, everyone, we've for how long have we been doing this? 3 years?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Thank you for being the timekeeper. For 3.5 years, we have had one single mic for our entire setup, which has worked fine.
Mm-hmm.
Although we are looking to upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
But like a professional upgrade where we get 2 mics and a mixer and do it the right way. And tonight we have 2 mics, but we just have our regular mic, and then we have Katy's
my
mic.
cheap mic that I bought during quarantine as like a backup, distance recording option that we never actually used.
And like 30 minutes ago, Jarek and I decided to try and see if we could hook it up and make it work. And technically it works, but we had to re-rig the whole mic, and
It's been a process, basically.
it's a whole thing. I don't know how. I'm holding the other mic. Katy is sitting in my seat because she's doing this. The regular mic is in a whole different place. I have a death grip on this mic because if I don't, it rattles. It makes a really loud sound. So.
I was going to say rattle it.
Oh. I know that picked up really loud on the recording because I've heard it before.
It did. I can see it.
Before this, I don't know if you can see, I have all of my high school yearbooks out and scattered around.
Yeah.
It's been I was looking for a specific signature. Oh, also we're not wearing headphones. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, that's the weirdest of things. Even weirder than being in the wrong seat is we have no idea how we sound. So.
Yeah. And it's because we can't hook up headphones to the second mic. Mm-hmm. So technically, Katy, you could wear headphones if you wanted.
I'm solidarity with you. we're both just.
And I could wear them and hear how you sound.
It's just like a cowboy episode where it's just all wild.
Is it about cowboys?
It is not.
Oh, okay.
This is obviously a tale we tale.
Yay.
And as everyone knows, I love my creatures, so it is another creature feature.
Yay.
And so I'm doing a series. So the last series was, I know that somebody guessed it.
Yeah.
It was Josh, right? That guessed it?
I think so.
All of the creatures, the letters, the creature names spelled out my name, Katy.
Nice.
So this one is a new series.
Nice.
It's inspired by one of my child's books.
Ooh! Oh, wait.
Mm-hmm. It's inspired by the Monster ABCs.
Yay!
That's the book that I threw at you, and plopped down in the chair without any explanation, just started reciting from start to finish. And so that inspired, I'm gonna do all of these monsters too.
Ooh.
So nice. Today, this episode is called B is for Banshee Who Won't Quiet Down.
Yay!
And if anyone is wondering, or, you're, several episodes into the future and listening back and being like, wait, why is there a B and a C and an E but no D or A or whatever? Well, it's because A is for alien from way out of town. just going to go ahead and sidebar that it has been weeks since I have read this book, and I still pretty much have it memorized. Well, since we've done several Alien episodes, the most recent of which, the Varginha incident, and then there's been a couple prior to that as well,
Right.
I'm not doing another Alien episode.
Right.
Like, there is a full-on likely that Hannah will do another Alien episode at some point, but the Alien is not going to be part of my Monster ABC series.
Right. Smart.
So, you ready?
I'm ready. Yay. Also, everyone, Katy told me that she was doing the episode like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So,
Well, to be fair, on I think the last episode, or an episode before that maybe, I might have dropped the ball a little bit. I did say specifically, like, after our Alcatraz series, I was going to be doing an episode.
yes.
So.
And I knew at some point either...
I think I had said, like, our next episode will be mine, or,
okay.
like, next week we'll be doing what I'm doing.
Well, I was thinking I was doing this one and then we were doing yours Tuesday, but
I mean,
I'm happy.
I'm just very excited about this
I am
one.
happy to sit here and drink my wine. Go ahead.
Well, before you drink your wine,
Oh, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
What comes to mind when you hear the term Banshee? Like, what kind of, creature or whatever imagery that you have?
I think of screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I also probably incorrectly think of the Harry Potter creature. I think the Bogart that comes out of the wardrobe and turns into something.
Whatever your biggest fear is.
Yes. I think that's probably incorrect,
Mm-hmm.
but I think of, like, screaming like a banshee.
Yes.
That's what I think of.
Yeah, so, and, like, the image, too, is you think often, like, a creature or a ghost, usually in the form of a woman, right?
Because women be screaming.
And, like, usually, like, running at you and shrieking and, like, just very scary.
Yeah. Hag, kind of.
Yeah. So, but what actually is a banshee? Is it a creature? Or is it a ghost? Is it, where do they come from? What is their purpose? What do they do other than make your blood curdle with a high-pitched, terrifying scream? And why the heck are they screaming anyway? These are the questions that we'll get to.
Is that your thesis? I love.
Okay, so the Banshee was a really fun one to research. Like I said, I'm excited to do this. Like, I'm energized by this one, and I don't know why.
This is your Alcatraz.
This might be my Alcatraz. Actually, no. The Banshee is not going to be my whole personality now, but I did thoroughly enjoy it. So it was really fun to research, though, because it seems like a fairly straightforward thing. Like, everyone knows a banshee, shrieking banshee.
Yeah.
But as with a lot of folklore, it's actually a really complex and confusing because its history is mostly known through oral tradition.
Okay.
Stories handed down, meaning there's a lot of variations and differing accounts.
Right.
There's also the issue of regional differences, and while the Banshee is mostly attributed to Ireland, there are also accounts of Banshees in Scottish and Welsh lore, and there are even a few Banshees here in the States.
Oh, I was hoping you weren't going to say that.
Well, you really don't need to be worried about this one.
Don't I?
So, first things first. What even is a Banshee?
Tell me.
It is both a ghost and a fairy, but also neither of those things.
Okay. Now, we did learn about fairies.
Yes.
Is it kind of like those fairies? The ones that were also kind of like demons? That got paused on their way to hell?
No.
Okay.
However, the Banshee is associated with death. So,
okay.
We'll like I said, it's complex. There's going to be a lot of, but wait, you said, throughout this.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Don't worry. Okay, so the term Banshee is actually from Old Irish. Oh, crap. I meant to look up pronunciations of things. It's two names, and,
to shine.
I was gonna come prepared. I was gonna be on it. Anyway,
Okay.
it's from Old Irish or Gaelic, meaning woman of the fairy mound,
Ooh, okay.
or woman of the other world, or even just simply fairy woman.
Okay, I like.
So essentially, the Banshee fairy is a spirit whose cries, shrieks, wails, lamenting songs, or keening warns of a death on the horizon.
Okay.
And so keening is a word, or keen is a word that I'm going to use a lot.
Okay.
And keening is literally just mournful, crying, singing.
Oh. Okay.
So, and we'll get kind of more into keening throughout.
Okay. It sounds like what it means.
Okay. And you've probably heard it before too, like a keening wail or a keening moan. You've probably, heard it or read it and just, like, didn't say, what does that word mean? Because the context clues made it fairly clear.
Yeah. Good word. I like it.
It's gonna, it might become part of my zeitgeist. Is that the right word?
Sure.
That I want to use there? Like, catalog of...
Yeah. Sure.
Anywho, here's where things start to get complicated.
Okay.
Because she is associated with the Fae, but not actually a fairy.
Mm-hmm.
It is fair to call her a fairy.
It's fair to call her a fairy.
It's fair to call her a fairy. Even though most accounts, she is much more of a spirit or ghost-like.
Okay.
For example, often is the spirit of a murdered woman or a woman who died in childbirth.
Okay.
Ghost of a young girl who was brutally murdered and spends her afterlife warning her family when violent death is imminent.
Oh.
She is a fairy woman who was linked to the realm of the dead. She was a woman brutally murdered by a specific family and then gets her rocks off in the afterlife by basically haunting the family that harmed her or killed her or whatever.
Yeah.
And taunting them with a warning that one of their loved ones was about to die. Like, talk about psychological warfare.
I kind of love that, though.
Right?
I would do that.
I'm okay with that one. She was a woman of nobility who was murdered by crown forces in the 13th century.
Okay. Specific.
Exactly. There are also specific banshees that belong to specific families and have different origins, as it were, which we'll get into in a minute.
Okay. Putting a pin in that.
This whole episode is we'll get into it. We'll get into it. Because it is... Anywho.
Okay.
So in summation, what is a banshee? Well, that depends on the legend and who's telling it.
Okay.
So ultimately, banshees are simply omens of death. They do not cause it. They simply predict and warn of it. So again, you don't actually have to be afraid of the banshee, mostly.
But you don't want to hear a banshee because that means someone
That's
is
another thing
die.
we'll have to get into is
does it mean
who hears the banshee and what it means if you hear the banshee.
Okay, because I was going to say, does it mean someone's going to die or you're going to die? Or just death is coming?
Yes.
It means...
Yes, to all of it.
It means death.
Yes.
Banshee, death soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, then again, there is the Hollywood version. Like I said, Banshee's nothing to really be worried about, as far as, harm.
I'm very worried.
Except the Hollywood version, in which she is a creature that stalks its victims, screaming at them, driving them insane until she rips their heart out with her bare hands. Oh. That's the Banshee you're probably be afraid of.
Okay.
But that's not a real Banshee.
Oh, okay. Well, thank goodness for that.
That's Hollywood BS right there.
Good.
As is most things that come out of Hollywood, I guess. There are also tales of good banshees and bad banshees.
What's a good banshee?
So, some were women who were very close to their families, and so in death, watch over them and appear as beautiful young women who sing a haunting, sorrowful song full of love and concern for the family. The song can sometimes be heard for days, and usually can only be heard by the person about to die.
Oh.
Question mark? Again, we'll get to that. Bad banshees are women who had reason to hate their families.
Oh.
They appear as frightening and ghoulish spirits full of hate. Their wails are shrieking screams that chill you to the bone, curdling your blood, and are often said to be so piercing that it shatters glass.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Fun
party
on
track.
that.
And in this case, they are not mourning, but celebrating the impending death.
Oh. Okay.
And so we can't, of course, like I mentioned, there's regional differences.
I wonder if there's differences in the sounds. Like, I wonder if the mourning ones are like, oh, and then the bad ones are like, woohoo!
Yeah. So I'm like,
Death.
that's the thing is, a screaming banshee, but is it shrieking like, like
Yeah.
horror movie screams?
Yeah. That's...
Or is it wails of despair and
Yeah.
sadness and mourning?
That's the
And
other... Yeah.
again, the answer is yes.
Yes to both.
Yes.
Yes. Man.
So, like I said, they're mostly Irish lore,
Right.
But there are some bits of Scottish and Welsh.
Okay.
In Scotland, the Banshee, this is one of the things, the Benai, I don't know, it's more beans.
More beans!
It's 2 words, if you're going to look up the pronunciation.
Okay, I'm ready.
Bean.
Okay.
And then the second word is Nighe. Bennia.
Binya.
Okay. So in Scotland, the banshee is called the Bennia, or the little washerwoman, because she is seen washing the blood from the clothes or armor of those about to die.
Nope. That was started out real cute, and then
Some accounts say that these are women who died in childbirth and are doomed to do this until their lives would have naturally ended.
no.
But why?
Why?
That's what I don't get. Like, why is it specifically women who died in giving birth?
Yeah.
Because that seems like freaking punishment enough, right?
No.
But now they've got to live on as a death omen for at least another, 30 to 40 years?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, hopefully...
for real?
Hopefully they're living in that time where, like, everyone only lived to 40.
Yeah.
So you've only got...
Yeah, a couple of years.
a couple years left, but...
20 years left.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. And yeah, like a more of a punishment on them, which, you're right, they've already been punished enough.
Right. So, like, yeah, that seems like a punishment. And
wash your own damn clothes.
Right.
Gosh.
Anyway, there are similar banshee creatures and stories in Welsh lore, but since Welsh is stupid hard to pronounce, I wasn't getting into it. Plus,
Okay.
I think I've got enough here as is. So, now that we kinda, sorta, not really know what a banshee is, what does it look like?
Ooh.
Okay, let's break it down.
Okay.
Age. She is a young, beautiful woman,
Okay.
sometimes a sweet singing virgin who died young.
Oh, okay.
She looks like an old hag.
Okay.
So that's kind of your age ranges there.
Sounds like some of those descriptions of, like, criminals that we've gotten in some episodes where it's like, they're between 25 and 47. And between 5'6" and 6'3".
You're looking at my notes here, man.
They're between this. They're about this high and greenish blue, gray eyes.
That's... Anywho, take a drink. Well, I mean, you don't have to. It wasn't real.
Still
Anyway,
gonna take a drink.
go for it. So her clothes and her dress color may depend on the form she takes, whether she's young, beautiful, or old hag.
Okay.
A green dress, a gray cloak, or just as a shrouded woman who's like lamenting, has a veiled face.
Okay.
She's dressed in white.
Okay.
She has a black dress. She has a silver dress.
Wow. She got a whole wardrobe.
Eyes.
Uh-huh.
Red or bloodshot from perpetual weeping.
Oh.
And that's like the only consistency. Because hair, oh boy.
Ooh.
Long hair, she is often seen combing, and if she throws the comb at you, you're
Oh. No. Like, you're going to be the one that dies.
Yeah, basically. But, again, unclear.
What if you pick up the comb and give it back to her nicely?
Take another drink. Because, by the way, if you find a comb on the ground, do not pick it up.
Oh, no.
A banshee put it there as a trap to lead you to ruin.
Oh, no.
Except banshees are just death omens. They don't harm you. They don't do anything. What do you mean they're gonna lead you to ruin?
Except also probably don't pick up a comb that you find on the ground. That's gross.
Ugh.
Leave those.
So, long hair.
Okay.
It's red hair.
Okay.
Or pale hair.
Okay.
That she grooms with a silver comb.
Okay.
Long black hair.
Okay.
Silver hair.
Okay.
And then I really liked this quote. Dark as a raven, as crimson as copper, as shining as gold. So that's 3 more colors there.
All in there.
Yeah. Height. Unnaturally tall.
Ooh.
Though not really that tall. My guess is probably just maybe taller than like an average woman of the time.
Right.
Or super short, like 1 to 4 feet.
Oh. Like the height of Jacques and Isabel over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I don't love.
And so usually described as short when she's depicted as an old woman to emphasize her like age.
You
I
said
guess
1 to 4 feet, or
yeah.
what?
So
That's
like,
a big.
Yeah.
That's like
but also,
impossible, or just a small woman.
But it's also could be used to emphasize her as a fairy creature.
Okay.
Which she isn't. She's,
that's right. She's not.
She is a fairy, but she's not.
She's just associated with them.
Yeah, she's
Okay.
of the fae, but
Yes.
not a
but
fairy.
Not.
And then, like I mentioned, her keen is different. So here's a quote I liked too. Mournful beyond all other sounds on earth.
Ooh.
Also, remember, glass-shatteringly piercing.
Right.
And oftentimes, in times of war, she was mostly seen as an old washerwoman, again, cleaning the bloody armor of soldiers about to die in battle, wailing all the while.
Yeah. I mean, I might be too if that was like my only job for eternity. Right. Be more of a complaint.
Or at least, another 20 to 40 years or however long you're supposed to live.
It probably wouldn't be more of a wail. It would just be like a...
Piss again.
And they'd be like, oh no, it's the Banshee. And her wailing. It sounds a lot like...
a lot more like just grousing. Complaining. Moaning and groaning.
Like, well, she is between 1 foot and 6 feet. And her hair is between silvery and raven's black.
Yep.
And her eyes...
It's on that spectrum.
It's in the spectrum there, so I could be. Who knows?
It's also possible, too, because of all the varying descriptions, that the Banshee is simply just powerful enough that she can change her form or appearance at will.
That's smart.
Which is evidenced kind of by the whole good Banshee, bad Banshee debate that we talked about. Believe it or not, all of that was the easy part that we just discussed.
Jeez.
Because here's where it really starts to get convoluted. So, as you'll see, it was actually really hard to organize my notes. Because even in the, quote, straightforward tales, there were still a ton of, like, contradictory statements.
Checking to see what color eyes Isabel had.
They're not red and bloodshot from perpetual mourning, at least.
Green. Oh, jeez. Sorry. I forgot she likes to fall over.
Mm-hmm. And she's got to lean on her bow. Jacques. Okay.
Let's get into it. Tell me.
So we've already stated that the Banshee's purpose is to be a death omen.
Right.
And while often, and especially in modern pop culture, like we talked about with Hollywood nonsense, Banshees are seen as evil due to their shriek, their association with death, and overall just spookiness.
Right.
But they simply predict death again.
Right.
Like they do not cause it.
Unless...
Like that was like the one thing that was like in every source, that was the point that was like driven home.
Unless
even though they also in that same source would mention that they might put a comb out as a trap to lead you to ruin or other things. I'm like, but you just said. But at most, really, like a true banshee, they may summon the death coach, which is, like a coach, like, or a carriage.
Oh, okay. Not like
that,
not
like,
some guy that's going to coach you.
No, not that kind of coach. We're talking like a carriage.
Okay.
Like a stagecoach.
Okay, that's kind of nice.
But it's the death coach, and it's and I didn't dive into this because I feel like that could potentially be either an episode or a chunk of episode on its own.
It's like what the Grim Reaper arrives on with his scythe.
Just general tales of how souls leave the earth and leave this plane of existence.
Yeah, I like the idea of a coach.
Mm-hmm. It seems very luxurious.
It does. It feels really fancy.
And I already know that I'm going to hell in a handbasket. I'd much rather go to hell in a death coach than a handbasket.
Yeah, like I'm thinking Cinderella-esque.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, like
I want my pumpkin.
Yeah, a grand coach.
I want my pumpkin ride.
For real.
So, yeah, at most, she may summon the death coach, but she's ultimately not responsible for the actual death. So basically it's like, she's predicting the death, so she starts wailing and keening, and like, the death is coming, and the death coach is like, oh, better get to where the banshee's at, because I've got a soul to reap.
Her job is just to tell the death coach where to go, not...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, she's
just like the concierge.
The
she's not...
anything.
Yeah. Okay.
That being said...
Okay.
After a person who was selfish or cruel in life died, their soul would remain close to the earth as punishment, and with the banshee basically supervising that punishment.
Ooh.
On the flip side, a kind, selfless person's soul, while still tied to the earth, would be at peace. Again, that being overseen by the banshee.
So we're all just hanging out on the earth?
I guess, the good people get to, like, float a little bit away. We get a longer tether. I don't know.
I'm imagining us all as balloons now.
Like I said, confusing, convoluted, doesn't make a lot of sense. They say this, and then the next statement is literally something and I'm
different.
Like, what? That's probably why I was just, like, so fired up about this and excited about it.
You're like, let me get it all out of my brain!
I'm like, it's just as confusing and jumbled as my brain is all the time. I love it. Like, this makes sense to me in all of its lack of sense. Okay. So
we're all balloons.
Banshees cry, wail, keen, or lament just signal death, specifically the death of a family member, which is a new can of worms.
Okay.
The banshee is said only to lament the descendants of pure Milesian stock, aka the true Irish.
Oh, okay, so we're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So only certain families had a banshee. Names like O'Neill, O'Brien, O'Leary's, etc.
Okay.
Basically lots of O's, Max, and Mix.
Okay. I'm feeling pretty safe. Pretty good.
However, a banshee may also lament someone who was gifted in music.
Not me.
No further explanation.
Okay, good.
On why or
she just
why.
liked a song.
She
picks and chooses. She's a fickle bitch.
Yeah. And so since banshees only lament these specific families, does that mean families have their own personal banshee?
Oh, I hope so.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Do the banshees have names?
So there are multiple banshees instead of just specific one.
Okay.
Yes. We'll get to that. According to some sources, the first banshee was, and this is going to be another pronunciation, I think it's Ebel? Ebel. Based on how I know another name that starts out the same way is pronounced.
Okay.
A-O-I.
Okay.
B-H-E-L-L.
B-H-E-L-L. Aviel.
Okay. So, the first banshee was Aviel.
Okay. I was hoping for, like, Janet.
If only. She was the ruler of 25 other banshees who were always at her attendance.
This sounds like a pyramid scheme.
So my question there was, does that make banshees a race or like a specific species? So like these 25 other banshees, are they the other family's banshees? The O'Neills, the O'Briens,
yeah,
etc.?
do you get like assigned a family at some point? Because other lore would suggest that you become a banshee when you like die from traumatic childbirth.
Exactly. And there is a story, I do have a story about how a specific family's banshee became the banshee.
Okay.
So, yeah, but somehow this bitch is the queen of the banshees.
She's been doing it for so long. She got she have a bunch
but
of
there's
them
only 26 banshees total because it's her and she's the ruler of 25. Or are there more banshees and she's just in charge of these 25 and the others are just rogue?
She's just the regional manager in that area.
I would like to be the assistant to the regional manager of this branch of banshees.
There's other regional managers. We just don't know who they are.
So I have no idea what the deal is here. But if you heard her playing her magical harp, then death was within your shadow.
Ooh.
Which I assume means either you're going to die or someone you know is going to die.
Right.
So probably just best to avoid harp music in general.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question.
Ask away. I probably do not have an answer.
Okay. It's actually twofold.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, once you hear the banshee, is there any way to avoid the death? Mm-mm. So, like, if it's you who's supposed to die, like when you said death is in your shadow,
yep.
You can't then do anything to, like, get away from the death.
Nope.
Okay. My other question is if it's someone that you know is going to die, and we're not necessarily sticking with someone in your family rules, what if it's just like... What if it's just like, oh, that neighbor over there died from the tuberculosis he's had for several months, and then you're just like, cool, the first person who died after I heard that banshee, I'm good.
Yep. I mean,
that
banshee just means somebody's gonna die.
Okay.
You don't know who it's gonna be.
Okay.
And it may be somebody too that's like away, like at war or traveling or whatever, and like news just of their death hasn't reached everyone yet.
Okay. I wonder if the banshee would come to you if it was just like an inconsequential, like your coworker Jeff,
and
in another department.
we're kind of gonna get into who can hear the banshee.
Okay.
Actually, that's literally my next point.
Oh, okay. I'm going to take another.
I literally have here. Okay, so I say probably best to avoid the harp music.
Yes.
Which leads us to another really confusing part of banshees in general. Who can hear them?
Take a drink, Hannah.
Yes. So, some legends say that a banshee's lamenting song can be heard for days before the death of a family member.
Okay.
Some say that only those of true Irish bloodline can hear the banshee.
Okay.
And some say the only one who can hear it is the person about to die. Which also doesn't make sense for all the accounts of people witnessing a banshee. But we'll get to that.
Okay, yeah,
So it
could also be all of those things.
Right? Because there is no consensus of who can actually hear a banshee.
Right.
And there is also the issue of whether banshees are simply heard.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if that's the case, how did we have those 8,000 different descriptions of what she looks like if everyone only just hears her and doesn't see her?
To be fair, we did describe every woman ever, so
Exactly.
So they were just covering their bases and saying any woman of any type.
As long as she looks like she's been crying, banshee.
Which,
next time I have like an emotional breakdown and I cry, I'm due for one. I haven't had one in like, 8 months or so.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
Oh, that's like an average. It's more common now ever since pregnancy and childbirth. No, I can go. I'm an emotional camel.
Oh, you keep them all in your hump.
Yep. That's where my humps on my front. My gut's getting real big. That's where I store all the tears. It's gonna be time to purge them soon.
I had mine like 2 days ago. Like that was my last one. And honestly, like every time I'm in the car for a long period of time, which is every other day right now, and I'm like listening to a certain kind of music, which is all the time now because I'm stuck on a playlist. I'm like, I could cry right now. Just
I don't cry.
I cry.
I cried all my
time.
tears out when I was 10, and now I have to like work and like build up another batch before I can leak.
Well, I'll cry for you.
Yeah.
If you need me to.
It's just part of my trauma. It's fine.
That's fine. I mean, to
okay.
each your own.
Yeah.
Some of us cry a lot, and some of us are emotional camels. Which would be a great Halloween costume one year. An emotional camel.
I would like to have like a see-through, hump or whatever, but it's like a water jug.
Yeah.
It says tears.
And then I was thinking you could have little things floating in there that were just like all different things to cry about.
Yeah. Sad things, frustrations, anger, happy tears even.
Yeah. I've been looking for a makeup tutorial for I have my showcase for Lyra next weekend. And in theory, we're supposed to be doing the theme is like Halloween at the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not following the theme because it was too hard. But the song that I'm doing is "Everybody Wants to Rule the World," the Lord version, which is from the Hunger Games movies. And so the outfit and the character, whatever I'm going for, is just like a black outfit and then like dark makeup. And I've been saying my inspiration is like like a demon, but like an inner demon, like an emotional demon. And so I've been looking for makeup tutorials of like dark makeup, but like if you've been crying. And I keep thinking, what if I just like I can't find any.
Put on a lot of heavy like eyeliner and mascara that's not waterproof, and then just literally cry.
That's what I think I'm gonna end up doing, or because I can't find any, and so now I'm just looking up like really dramatic smoky eyes, which I'm probably not even gonna do. I think I'm just gonna like smear a bunch of black eyeshadow on my eyes.
Do a dramatic smoky eye. Realize like, oh yeah, I'm of the majority of the population of women who cannot successfully do a smoky eye, and then cry about it.
Cry about that, yeah. And just hope it looks good. Also, if anyone out there, wait, when is this coming out? Wednesday. If anyone in the next 2 days has a good crying smoky eye tutorial, send it my way. I have until Sunday. Thank you.
Speaking of inner demons, you've seen the animated classic Fern Gully, right?
Of course.
You know the toxic sludge monster?
Yeah.
That is the, like...
That's what your inner demon looks like?
Yeah. So I've got, like, a couple of different kinds of sadness. Like, I've got the general, just, like, the blues, the gloomies, the whatever, like, the little, there's just a little gray cloud just kind of hovering over me and just making me feel down.
Yeah.
Nothing really, just sad. The evil black sludge monster lives inside me, though, and it whispers all sorts of horrible things, like, you're worthless, you're not good enough, you're lazy, all the bad things that I think about myself.
Yeah.
But that's like I've tried to personify it or whatever is the word I'm looking for, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing that lives in my brain.
Nice.
But
I mean, not nice.
I like that I can, be like, you seen Fern Gully? That thing.
Let me give you a picture of my brain. Let me give you a snapshot of what's inside me.
But also, my brain is very much like Betty from Fern Gully, so it's fine. It all balances out.
Everyone's favorite character.
It all balances out. Okay.
I'll switch hands really quick. I have a dead grip on this thing. Okay.
So, Despite the Banshee's, like, wails or screams being the defining characteristic, there are details of sightings.
Okay.
So, people have seen a Banshee.
Okay.
It is said that a Banshee ghost would sometimes perch on a windowsill in the form of a bird.
Oh, okay.
That's sometimes chilling there for several days before death would occur. Okay. Yet another reason not to trust birds.
I mean, I like it better as a bird because when you first said it, I was thinking a woman was perching on your...
We'll get there.
No!
Banshees are rarely ever seen in the daytime and basically only ever at night.
Okay.
And midnight or early morning is when she tends to either appear or do her keening thing.
Okay.
So, like, you really only hear her at night.
Okay.
And
I don't want to go to sleep tonight.
Banshee has been spotted, I guess in her woman form, or if she thinks she's been spotted, she will vanish into a puff of mist.
Ooh.
And her little vanishing act is said to have a fluttering sound like a bird flapping its wings.
Ooh, like an owl.
You may also hear a banshee wailing or shrieking in the woods, near rivers, or even rock formations. Because there's a place called the Banshee's Chairs. It's a rock formation that I didn't put into here because I felt like I had enough. So, are you confused yet?
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
So
I'm getting worried about birds.
So, another thing that I left out, because it went in 8,000 directions, but, you know, the association with birds, there was also some lore would say that she may also turn into, like, a sloat, which is a kind of weasel, or, you know, a crow, or, you know, rather a raven, because, and a couple of other animals, which were also tied to witchcraft.
Okay.
And so the Banshee was also associated with
kind of a
witchcraft.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's too convoluted. Like, we're not getting into that.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Where did the Banshee legend come from anyway?
Tell
besides me. Ireland.
Besides women being crazy.
Well, this was probably my favorite part of all of my research.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Apparently, way back in the 8th century, it was traditional for women to wail or keen during funerals.
Okay.
And these women, or keeners, were actually often professionals. And some were even in pretty high demand. Like, if you were good, you were sought after to come and cry. Like, can you please come and cry at my brother's funeral, please?
So people think that he was important.
Yeah, exactly. Like, really loved. So after a keener would lament a soldier with a mournful song or wail at the passing of a loved one, they would often be paid in, want to guess?
Did you get paid in something specific?
It's not cash, but it better.
It's better than cash. Wine?
Alcohol.
Oh. Sorry, I'm not taking my cues very well. Katie was swirling her wine in my face. Alcohol, yes. Okay, all right. Here for it.
So, the Irish Church wasn't, though.
Oh, wow.
They took issue with this system, and the women were punished by becoming banshees.
Okay, calm down. It's the blood of Christ.
The patriarchy, punishing women for attempting independence since the 700s.
Since the 700s?
It said the 8th century.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I told you I'm not good at dates.
Me either. Especially the whole 700s versus 8th century.
We did talk about that.
So this begs the question that were the keening women or keeners and the tradition of keening at funerals the inspiration for or inspired by the Banshee?
Okay, like which came first?
Yes.
Okay, the keeners or the Banshee?
Yes.
Chicken
so
meat.
like, were they keening and then became punished to be banshees?
Right.
Or were they keening to and kind of replicate the mournful wail of the Banshee.
Right.
Well,
we'll never know.
The goddess Brigid.
Who?
Brigid. She's a goddess.
Okay.
Was the first to wail or keen after the death of her son. If she's a goddess, her son is a god, or at least a demigod, like
according to the rules of
right?
Hercules,
do they not?
The movie.
I guess he would have had to be a demigod because demigods can die.
Can they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, go read about Camp Half-Blood.
I don't know what that is.
It's one of the greatest, like, it's not children's books, but it's like young adult reader. Yeah, a little younger than young adult, I guess. Like that awkward cusp of like, I'm not a child, but I'm not really a teenager. Or like that early teenage, 12, 13. Rick Riordan, the Heroes of Olympus series. It's fabulous. He reimagines like, what if the Greek gods and goddesses were real and still existed today? And so like Mount Olympus is not literally on this mountain. It just travels to wherever like the height of society is.
Okay.
And so in this series, it's Mount Olympus is at the top of the Empire State Building.
I like
and
that.
There's all sorts of, the gods and goddesses are still philandering, hooking up with the humans, making little demigods who all go to Camp Half-Blood.
Oh.
It's a fabulous series. Just so great.
Jarek, remind me to look into that, please.
So, all right.
Okay.
After that little segue, all right. The goddess Brigid keened after the death of her son, according to some mythology. So she can be credited with creating the custom.
Okay.
And so it's likely that, yes, the Banshee did inspire the tradition. Because what she did was described as a combination of wailing and singing, which created this poetic but structured form of crying.
Okay. She made it cool.
Yeah. She made it, like, hauntingly beautiful, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's gloss over some more specific banshees, shall we?
Okay. I have a question. Oh, I have another question.
Mm-hmm.
You told me that there was going to be a small...
It's coming.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
It's coming.
Okay. Never mind.
So, we have Cleodna.
Cleodna. Okay.
I'm just going to call her Cleo.
Cleo. Love her.
Had the title of Queen of the Banshees.
Ooh.
Except, Katy, didn't you say that Janet was the Queen of the Banshees?
Yeah.
Yep. I did say that.
I thought she was regional manager
of
25.
That's right. She's the regional manager of 25. Okay, now you see why it's so hard to get all this organized.
Okay, who's Cleo?
So, quick segue.
Okay.
Cleo and Janet, I'm just going to call her, were both goddesses of the Tuatha De Danann.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically the pantheon of Celtic lore.
Okay.
So, where we've got Zeus and Hera in Greek, we've got Jupiter and Juno in Roman, we've got Cleo and Janet Celtic.
Okay, I gotcha. I'm following.
They were also rivals.
Okay.
And guess what they fought over?
Who was Queen of the Banshees?
A boy.
Oh! Girls, don't fight over boys. They're not worth it.
Except he fell for Janet, and they were set to be married.
Uh-oh.
Cleo was not happy about that.
Okay.
So with the help of some other sorceress, she cast a spell that caused Janet to begin to fade away. And Cleo said that she'd be cured if she renounced her love for the dude.
Fade away?
He has a name, but there was no way I was even going to try to pronounce that one. Also, he's some guy, and he doesn't matter. Especially, it's not harsh, because wait for this.
Okay.
Cleo promised that she would be cured if she renounced her love for the guy. She refused, and Cleo turned Janet into a white cat.
Oh.
And now their fellow was upset because he couldn't find his lady love.
Okay.
Except he agreed to go ahead and marry Cleo. So again,
So
it was not harsh. He does not matter.
He's very fickle.
Yeah,
Or not, sorry, he's not fickle.
He does.
He's wait.
He is fickle.
He is fickle.
Or he just settles. He was
he's
not that heartbroken. He was just looking to get married. He wasn't.
He was just looking to get laid.
Maybe. So thankfully, the sorceress confessed her part in the plot and gave him the wand to undo the spell, which he did.
So Cleo marries him.
No. He agrees to marry her, but before it happens.
So he agrees to marry Cleo, and she's like,
woohoo, I win.
I'm going to now...
No, the other sorceress that she had. She
Who's
had
the
help.
Other okay.
If you were listening.
I was listening. There was a lot going... Why does the other sorceress not have a name?
In the one story that I saw, like, this was research adjacent. This was not part of my research. I had to go... Because it pissed me off that 2 different people were referred to as Queen of the Banshees.
Yes. Okay.
So anyway, this third party who helped, confessed. The spell was undone. Okay. Janet was no longer a cat. Okay. I'm guessing she got to marry her dude.
Okay.
And Cleo then was forced to spend a little bit of time as a cat.
Okay.
All this to say... I have no idea why one source says Cleo was Queen of the Banshees and another source says it was Janet.
Also, does marrying this guy... was he king of the Banshees? Like,
no,
does marrying him...
No, he's just a dude.
So why...
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just... That's folklore for you, folks.
Y'all could have just forgot about him and found 2 other... guys, or no one. Independent ladies. Okay.
Moving on. The Banshee of Duckett's Grove was actually a vengeance banshee.
Ooh, what is that?
Still doesn't actually cause a death.
Okay. She's just mad about it.
It's just...
Is she one of the ones that's mad and is tormenting or just like psychologically torturing the family?
No, not so much her, but her mom.
Her mom is psychologically torturing the family?
Yes.
Okay.
A young girl was having an affair with William Duckett, and while out for a horse ride on their estate, she fell and died. Now, I don't know, it just said an affair, and like, affair doesn't always mean like an illicit affair or whatever.
Right. Doesn't mean he was necessarily married.
Yes.
It could have just been they were sleeping together and not married.
Right.
Okay.
You know, they had a tryst, a thing.
Right. They were having sex out of wedlock.
Yeah. So her grieving mother put a curse on the family to bring about financial ruin, general bad luck, and death.
Okay. So the mom is she's sorceress.
Or just a woman that's like, I curse you!
Or she makes curses.
So the young girl's spirit is now the banshee of this family, and she can be heard screaming from the towers for 2 days and 2 nights before the death of a member of the family, or even a member or a worker on the estate.
Has anyone checked the towers? Because if there's just screaming coming from the towers,
that's all I got.
Okay. Someone check the towers.
Maybe that's where she and William would have their hookups.
Thing. Okay.
So, Here you go.
Okay.
There was a workhouse built in the mid-19th century designed to house 500 inmates.
Okay.
Except, at its heyday, or peak, it held closer to 5,000 inmates. A little bit of overcrowding, I would say.
Yeah, a little bit. Just small.
This particular case stands out because at a nearby crossroads, a banshee would appear to herald the death of an inmate.
Ooh. So at a nearby crossroads, they would just hear screaming. Wait, appear?
So
she would show up?
Maybe.
And scream.
But also, if a banshee would be seen or even think it was seen, it would disappear. right? Because of the flutter of wings. And also, like, other things happen at crossroads.
Yes, they do. Also, if you have a place that is built to hold, you said 500 inmates, and there's 5,000, I'm assuming, men in there. That's a lot of work for one Banshee, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's probably a lot of... You're probably having multiple deaths per day.
It's like a barn owl that lives in the woods nearby that someone's like...
And they're just like, wow.
That's a... Yeah. The Banshee's howling again tonight.
I happen to
must be one of the inmates gonna die in the overcrowding.
They probably heard the the Banshee, and also happened to notice that every time they heard it, several hundred inmates were also dying. So. And it just happened to be that every day inmates were dying. Yeah. And also every day the Banshee was screaming.
And, like, how far away was the crossroads to this? It just said nearby. Anyway.
What if it was just a regular girl that was just, like, walking to school every day?
No, it's at night, though, you know.
What if she was just walking to night school every day? And they saw her, and then they also heard the barn owl, and they were like...
Well, it's probably because she had either pale hair or silver hair or black hair or red hair.
She was between 1 foot and 6 feet tall and had blue, gray, green eyes.
Nope. She had red bloodshot eyes.
Sorry, red bloodshot eyes. Because she's tired, because she's been up all day, and now she's going to night school.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all I've got on that one. I just left it in there as my teeny little nod to your new personality of
my new personality.
Right.
I like that you said it like it's a separate entity that sits next to me.
It's just a new one to add to your collection.
Personality right over here. You do have my stack of books right down there.
Alright.
Oh my gosh.
So, for our fans of ACOTAR, this
one's
for you. So, if you're a fan of A Court of Thorn and Roses.
I've read one. 1 1/4.
You might know. If you got far enough into the second one, you know who Moore is. Moore is the Morrigan.
No, I don't know who that is. I couldn't get into the second one.
The second one is where it gets really good, though.
I disagree. I found the second one very boring.
Give it another chance. Chapter 55, 56 is where that...
really hate that girl, Feyre. She's very annoying.
She's tough. But she gets better.
Does she? She has a personality?
She does.
Okay.
She gets better.
All right.
Remember, she's a trauma victim. Big time. And then more trauma. And also, she just is problematic. I understand.
She's also the definition of a trope.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, but Reese is right there. Anyway. So, this is about the Morrigan.
Okay.
So, one account of the Banshee is that the apparition is later revealed to be the Morrigan, the Irish goddess of war and battles.
Oh, okay.
She is actually a triple goddess, so like 3 sisters, lots of names, we're not getting into that.
Okay.
And she could fly over battles as a crow, could change her appearance to an old hag or a beautiful young woman, and many other forms of animals.
Oh, okay. That's useful.
Very useful, and also because of those is why she's probably associated with the Banshee. Mm-hmm. Because also she could predict the future. Another thing the Banshee could do.
But only in that one specific way.
Yeah. Well, so there is a tale of an Irish hero who saw her washing his armor in the river before the battle that he would later die in. So basically, I guess, there was a battle coming up, and he saw the washerwoman down by the river washing armor that he recognized as his, and was like, oh, there's the Banshee. That's my armor. I'm gonna die. Probably in this battle coming up. And then he did.
Another question. This is more logistics. Should you be washing armor in water? Isn't armor, like, made of metal?
Sometimes. Could be leather armor.
How useful is leather armor?
Depending on
Should
what
you be
you're
washing leather in
armoring
water?
it in. I don't know.
I just feel like maybe that's not a good
I have
choice.
very limited experience with armor.
Maybe take a damp cloth to it. Some linseed oil.
Yeah.
I'm just... Also, my other question.
Well, also, you can wash metal in water just fine. Just don't let it rust.
But my other... Okay, so I know you said you couldn't avoid it, but, like, if he saw the washerwoman washing his armor, like, couldn't he just be like, I'm gonna go home and not be in this battle?
Take another drink. Because we will get to that.
I'm out of wine.
So, all this about the Morgan to say that she isn't, but maybe could be in some stories, the Banshee.
Okay.
Again, it's very unclear. Shane's castle.
Oh, okay. Who's Shane?
One of the O'Neill clan.
Such a silly name for a old-timey person.
Yeah.
It's like in Game of Thrones when they had like Tywin, and that's the only name I can think of right now.
Tywin, Tyrion.
Yeah.
Cersei.
And then they had Jaime. It just seems... And Jon Snow, obviously. Sorry. Shane just seems silly.
I disagree.
Who do you keep looking at?
The microphone.
So sorry. I'm like, who are you looking at?
Sometimes I'm looking at our inmates behind you.
It's really alarming. I'm looking at the closet behind you, making sure it's not opening.
Yeah, I stare at that closet a lot. That's the other thing. I don't know where to look right now. Like, kind of looking at you, but also...
I should put up a curtain behind you so there's nothing to stare at.
Okay, so the O'Neill Banshee, this is at Shane's castle.
Yes, Shane. Our old-timey buddy.
Yeah. So the O'Neill Banshee is said to actually be an act of revenge by the fairies.
The fairies, who are definitely not banshees.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the O'Neills, don't know if he ever had a specific name.
Okay.
Was returning from a raid, and he found a cow with its horns caught in a hawthorn tree or a whitethorn tree.
Okay.
It's the same tree, but sometimes called different things.
Okay.
Because I'd seen it a couple of times in like different stories. I was like, wait, is it hawthorn or whitethorn?
Which is it?
And I looked it up, and I'm like, they're the same tree.
Don't you love when you put a lot of effort into finding out those things, and then you're like, wait a minute. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so this hawthorn tree is also known as a fairy tree.
Oh, it does matter. Never mind. I lied.
Well, because a cow being stuck in this sacred tree meant that the cow now belonged to the fairies. It's like a weird version of I licked it so it's mine. So, like I said, the hawthorn tree is sacred to the fairies.
Okay.
And so, since the cow was stuck in this tree, it's like, oh, that's my cow
mine
now.
Okay.
And so, it's not quite I licked it so it's mine, but that was the thing that came to mind first.
Yeah, like it.
It's on my property, so it's mine.
Yeah. Now. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And fairy rules. Yeah. Yeah.
So, ignoring that fact, he set the cow free, which obviously pissed the fairies right the fuck off.
Yeah, don't do that.
So much so that when he finally made it home, he found that his daughter had been taken by the fae to the bottom of the loch. Yes.
Oh.
The lake.
The loch.
The lake. The loch.
Taken by the fairies. We know all about that.
She was allowed to return to let her father know that she was safe in the fairy kingdom.
Well, thank goodness.
But could only return to warn of death in the family. And so her death, because obviously because the way that they say it is that the fairies took her to the bottom of the lake.
Uh-huh.
And it's very ambiguous.
Yeah.
But it's like, so that means she drowned? Like, you got home and you realized that your daughter had drowned?
They didn't give her
there was
magic fairy powers so she could breathe?
The fairies drowned. Because my understanding, too, of the Fae and all of fairy lore, especially, like, you know, Celtic, Scottish, even Welsh lore, is that anytime literally anything happens, especially if it's bad, mildly inconveniencing, or just general bad luck, it's the fairies' fault.
Yeah.
Like, it's an act of the fairies. So what likely happened if this girl did truly exist is that somehow, for some reason, she drowned, or somebody else maybe killed her and put her body in the lake. Again, this is lore, so, like, who knows if she truly existed to begin with.
But she was allowed to come back and tell her dad that she was safe?
Yes, and that she was only allowed to ever return. So it was like, hey, just pop in back real quick. I'm okay. Like, I'm in the fairy kingdom. I'm not dead or anything.
But that part
I'm just... Again, none of this makes any sense.
It's very suspicious.
It's very ambiguous. Like,
I feel like maybe
did she actually die, or was there, like, a portal at the bottom of the lake?
Was she given some gillyweed to take before she went down there?
And is that how she got to the fairy world? Because if so, I will don some scuba gear and swim to the bottom of a lake.
I will
to
not.
Try and find the way into the fairyland.
You do that all you want. I will stay in Shane's castle with Shane.
You might not want to or be able to.
Kidding, I will not.
So I didn't put this in here because there was a lot more about it, but essentially, and again, because, like, the research didn't go into enough details, it would mention things but not actually answer any questions. Because at one point they claimed that the Banshee burned the castle down.
Oh, okay.
So essentially, the castle's still there today.
Oh, okay. So she didn't burn it down.
They're doing some renovations.
So she burned part of it down.
And a fire broke out, and what burned versus what didn't was very unique and strange. And so for some reason, the Banshee was blamed.
Okay.
But it never really went into the details that answer, so I left all of that out because, again, this all of this is more questions, no answers.
All right.
But the death of this girl, I think her name was Kathleen, fits really nicely into the origin stories of banshees being spirits of young women who died too soon.
Okay.
So now on to some more general accounts.
Okay.
Because there are other, like, families and specific banshees. I didn't want to spend all night talking about them. Yeah. So general historical accounts and one particularly heated debate. The title of one of my sources was Ireland's Banshee, a delusion of peasants or a spirit with a mournful wail.
A delusion of peasants.
Yeah, no, I thought that would be I thought it was hilarious, but I thought it would be even better if they'd flipped it, if they said Ireland's Banshee, a spirit with a mournful wail, or a delusion of peasants.
Exactly.
That lands better. But anyway, it was still amusing to me nonetheless.
Yes. Well, which was it?
Well, there were newspaper reports of banshees as far back as 1893.
Okay.
The Weekly Irish Times published letters to the editor regarding the banshee, which then polarized readers. Here's a quote. I most distinctly heard it about 5 years ago, previous to the death of my dear brother. He was ailing at the time. It was 12 o'clock at night. I was up with him watching in case he required a drink, when suddenly I heard an indescribably mournful cry.
Okay.
Another quote from another letter. She was distinctly heard on a hill in County Wicklow about 8 o'clock one night last month by my sister and her husband. The next morning they heard of the death of a friend. So there's your question of, like, oh, it was just our neighbor, Jimmy. Another.
Okay.
About 12 o'clock, my uncle suddenly sat up in the bed and, pointing towards the window, exclaimed, "Ah, there you are, poor thing."
No.
Wait, hold on. I messed it up. It was, "Ah, you're there, poor thing you are."
No.
Just then, they all distinctly heard the mournful wail of the Banshee. He died the next day.
Oh. Hate that.
Then there were some letters that disagreed with the notion of the Banshee.
Shocking.
To my mind, the advance of education and consequent diminution of superstition is quite sufficient to account for it. But so long as ignorance obtains in some parts of the country, so long will the voice of the Banshee be occasionally heard, or until some modern St. Patrick banishes all the cats, owls, peacocks, jackasses, and laughing dogs from Ireland. That letter, of course, was not well received.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It sparked new outrage, as calling people stupid for their beliefs is wont to do.
I mean, yeah, it's not very nice. That last line was very funny, though.
Oh, it's amusing.
I very much enjoyed that.
It's very cutting,
Yes.
this letter, but
And
clever.
like, good point.
Yeah.
I mean, were we investigating everyone? Are we sure it wasn't a cat that was getting, mated with, or
Exactly, 'cause
or
I've heard, or just cats fighting too.
yeah, or like a barn owl or a peacock, I guess. Is that what peacocks sound like?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up. But
Foxes, probably. I don't know. What does the fox say?
actually, that song was fairly accurate.
Yeah.
So this debate went on for weeks. People sent in letters, but eventually it did peter out with the rise of more important topics like, can horses think? Should consumptives marry?
I'm sorry. Consumptives?
Yeah.
Like someone with consumption?
Mm-hmm.
Which is tuberculosis. So should someone with tuberculosis
be allowed to marry?
Someone else with tuberculosis?
Maybe. That's probably part of the debate, but I didn't read that article.
I'd like to
No,
know
I want to, but
I'd like to know the thoughts on if horses can think or not.
I mean, there's very compelling letters that got sent in on banshees.
A
so
lot
why
of
not?
evidence to suggest.
We just need to go get some back issues of the Irish Weekly Times.
We should subscribe.
From 1893.
I really should subscribe to newspapers.com for 99 cents a month or whatever it is. I feel like it'd be really helpful. Every time I get blocked by it, I can't read an article because of the paywall, I think, should I really pay for this? And then we come to something like this, and I'm like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember they probably wouldn't have these issues.
They'd be on microfiche. In 1642, Lady Fanshawe was visiting some friends when she heard a piercing cry in the middle of the night and witnessed a female face looming in the window.
Ew. No, I hate that.
The window of an upstairs room that looked out to the river directly beneath it.
Gross. I hate it. I hate this. Wait, was it her reflection?
After a while of hovering, the pale, red-haired woman shrieked twice and then vanished.
Shrieked twice.
That's what I heard, too. And, are they, looking at each other? I'm watching you, watching me? And then one goes, ah! I mean, I have shrieked twice before. I was driving back to my grandmother's house. She's up at the top of this, mountain, this curvy mountain road. It was at night, but it was, in the winter, so it was pitch black. And I come around this curve, and, I'm going maybe 30 miles an hour because sharp curves. And there's a steep embankment on the side, and as I'm coming around, I see this deer that's just standing there. And he's standing there, and then when I get closer, he jumps into the road. So I thankfully also am aware that there's nobody behind me. So I slam on the brakes. And while I'm doing that, I go, ah! So I scream because reaction. I stop screaming because I'm like, should I be screaming? Is this the appropriate reaction? Yes. This is the appropriate reaction for this circumstance. Continue. I hit the deer hard enough to, like, just knock him over, and he just kind of, like, fell over and stumbled, and he hobbled up and then ran off. I had a little license plate holder, so I didn't have anything in it at the time. It's just that plastic piece, and he actually, like, kind of broke a piece of it off. But I got a piece of him, too. And got a couple little hairs stuck in it.
stuck in there. I've had one of those where I had some hair stuck in the
in the grill.
Like not even the grill, like the place where your door opens. I also had a giant dent there, and my car squeaked every time I opened the door. But there was that.
Was that from the bear?
No, that was from a deer I hit when I was 16. The bear just broke my fucking window and walked away.
Right. That's right.
That was great.
Okay. So, shrieked twice and then she vanished.
Yes.
The next morning, Lady Fanshawe was telling her friends about what she'd witnessed. And apparently it was their Banshee foretelling the death of a family member who had died in the middle of the night.
Oh. They were like, don't worry, that's just Frida.
Yeah. Well, this is the O'Brien Banshee, and I think it's of Bunratty Castle.
Okay.
And she's said to be the spirit of a drowned servant girl.
Oh.
So not even a member of the family, but...
Yeah, you just die on the property.
But apparently she loved the family, I guess, enough that...
Sure she did.
She became their Banshee.
I'm sure she did. They were like family, I'm sure.
As recent as 1948, there's a story of a man who saw an old woman standing outside his front door. He may have been on his way home from a night at the pub, and he may have been, quote, a little worse for the wear. But when he tried to talk to her, she backed away, pointing at the door and, wailing and moaning and whatnot. And so when he
Silver alert.
went inside, he told his mother about the strange woman, and she said she knew who it was, and then just, like, sent him off to bed. Like, just go to bed. Like, sleep it off. Whatever.
Wait, how old is this man?
I mean, old enough to hang out in the pub. I don't know.
I was definitely picturing, like a 40-something-year-old man.
I kind of was too, but you might have just been thinking because the year is 1948.
Oh, you're probably right.
The next morning, he learned that his uncle had actually been found dead in his bed.
Oh. Did his mom explain who that woman was? She was just like, no, I know her, go to bed?
I guess it was like, it's the Banshee. She knew it was the Banshee, but she's like, I'm not gonna get into, like, this argument with you.
It's because Roberta. She's just here to tell us that
Yeah.
your Uncle John has died. It's fine. She does this every time someone dies. Don't worry about it. Go to bed.
So then there's Granny O'Rourke, which is the grandmother of an author of one of the articles that I read.
Random. Okay.
Who has heard the Banshee many times.
I bet she has.
And apparently she would tell bedtime stories of the Banshee and say totally not creepy things like, do you hear the Banshee? I wonder who she is coming for tonight. I included that just for you.
I love a creepy grandma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want one, and I don't want to be that kind, and I don't want that kind for my kids. But holy shit.
So she apparently heard the Banshee before the death of all three of her sons, which is tragic.
Oh my gosh.
So in 1927, 1949, and 1960 is when each of her sons died.
Jeez. It's a lifetime of sorrow.
I know.
Grief.
And Granny said she heard the Banshee apparently at one point, like, fully freaking out one of her daughters. Like,
at least she has other kids. I'm happy to hear that.
And so, like, within 48 hours of when she said that she heard the Banshee, they received news of each of the men's death.
Oh, that's
the
so
boys,
sad.
Men. So here's another thing that I made you take a drink for.
Oh, okay.
Because there are even tales of battles being abandoned by soldiers.
Okay, good.
Who heard
Smart.
the Banshee's wails and decided to flee.
Did it work?
Ultimately, they would either be killed by their enemies, their own armies for desertion, or just dying from the elements while hiding. So no, you cannot escape death.
Being killed by your
Death
own
will still come for
people for desertion, or
it's
like
the biggest
being
waste ever.
also being punished for like deserting. There should be a clause in there like join the military, but also if you decide at any point that you don't want to do that shit anymore, you can just leave.
Not how the military works.
But it should be, because there's some fucked up shit. And also, you shouldn't be forced to do it. I mean, I know you're not forced to do it, but like...
You signed up for it. No, that's what you signed up for.
But you shouldn't be...
No, if you don't agree with it, don't sign up for it.
But you shouldn't be severely punished for just walking away from it. I'm just saying.
We're not getting into that debate.
I know.
Though the Banshee is mostly reported in Ireland, there are a few who've made their way to the States.
No, go away.
As I said, some are so closely tied to their descendants that they've actually immigrated to the U.S. with their families.
No, get out of here. You're not welcome. Go back.
It doesn't hurt you. Probably.
I don't know.
It is said there is a Banshee in the Badlands of South Dakota who will sit and keen near Watchdog Butte. Again, not associated with evil, just death, and honestly probably her own at that.
Also a very random place. I was not expecting South Dakota.
It's also said that in the 18th century, David Warner was unjustly killed by British soldiers during the Revolution.
Probably for deserting the army.
A Banshee still mourns his death by haunting the Tar River in North Carolina.
I used to live on the Tar River.
I'm so glad that I waited until you took a sip for that. Really, it's more of a ghoul than a banshee, but still.
Ooh, a ghoul?
There is at least one other Banshee in North Carolina. Laughing Brook Spellcasting and Ancestral Arts is a shop in Huntersville, North Carolina.
Where's Huntersville?
Out west.
Oh, okay, good. Whew, thank goodness. Although the Tar River is far too close for my liking. That's like driving distance.
It's less than an hour.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's
less than an hour to drive to.
I was thinking of where I used to live, which is an hour and a half, but I guess the river itself is less than an hour.
The author of the article visited this shop and immediately felt an unusual presence, as if the place were haunted. So she asked the owner, who said it wasn't haunted, but that she did have a banshee.
It's not haunted, but we do have a spirit here.
And it was probably the author's Irish ancestry that caused the banshee to make its presence known to her.
It's not haunted, but are you Irish? Because we do have an Irish spirit here.
Oh, we do have a banshee. Oh, that banshees are from Irish lore. I'm also Irish. Oh, well, that's obviously why you can sense the banshee. Why the banshee made its presence known to you.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, I'm trying very hard not to like make fun of people here, but my inner skeptic is just like,
oh my gosh.
Anyway,
I love this.
The owner, she originally thought it was the spirit of her deceased sister. Like when she first felt the presence.
Yeah.
But at a later point, she actually did feel her sister's presence, and it was not the same.
It was different. It was like very clearly her sister.
Yeah, she's like, oh no, this is my sister. I don't know what that was.
Oh, no. That's terrifying.
It's like, there's a presence here. Is this you, sissy? Is it?
You're just like telling yourself
maybe.
it is.
You're like, okay. And then later you're like, holy crap, my sister's here.
Yeah.
This is not what?
Yeah, I feel like I can see that happening. Like something creepy happening. And I'm just like telling myself it's my sister, who, by the way, Lauren, if you're listening, you're not allowed to die before me. And then later, something so stupid and so like, because my sister and I have like the dumbest inside jokes that don't even make sense to me. I know. Good grief. Don't even make sense to me. Something like that would happen that I'd be like, oh shit, well that's her. And then I'd be like, wait a minute. What was that other thing then? Exactly. The Banshee.
Well, so it wasn't until she was attending a pagan pride conference in Charlotte that she felt the presence again, and then a low, soft whisper she heard, Banshee. And this is why it would have been great to have headphones to see if that actually landed.
I know. Also, please tell me that a pagan pride conference is where gay pagans hang out.
No, I think it's just we're pagan and we're proud.
Oh, really hoping for gay pagans.
I mean, there's probably some gay pagans there too.
I mean, I'm sure, but
probably a lot.
Pagan pride.
So yeah, and then the Banshee has been a fixture at the shop ever since it opened. So a few other little fun facts.
Okay.
When several banshees appear at once, it indicates the death of a great or holy person, which also, what do they mean by appear at once? Do you hear lots of different sounding shrieks? Do you actually see a gathering of banshees? What is a group of banshees?
I thought you were going to tell me what they were called, like a group of owls or a group of crows.
Yeah, we all know what a group of crows is.
Yes. What's a group of owls? I just learned that recently and I forgot. Is it a patriarchy? It's not a patriarchy. That's stupid. It's a parliament, right? A parliament of owls?
I think that's right.
That sounds right. We'll make up one for banshees.
We will.
It's a bauble of banshees.
During the famine years and beyond, some sources would suggest that the banshee came and keened angrily every night.
Oh, jeez. Well, yeah. That goes back to the prison thing where it's like, well, someone's dying every night, so there's just a banshee on call.
Here's something that I thought you'd really like.
Oh, great.
No one is actually sure where the banshees get their knowledge of a person's death, but there is one theory that suggests that each family member has his own personal observer who follows him around and reports back to the banshee.
No.
I knew you wouldn't enjoy that.
That's either like that's like the spiritual version of your little like
your guardian angel,
or I was thinking like your little FBI agent that's like spying on you, or like your guardian angel, but like the evil version that's like
he's not evil. He's just watching. He's just creeping.
But he's tattling on you to your banshee.
Which also like, do you get alone time? Because like
no, your guardian banshee person is
because I'm kind of like, is this a job I can sign up for in the afterlife? Because I'll take it. I want to go creep on somebody. That sounds so fascinating.
Yeah, I do wonder though if you get like if you have like a guardian angel though, like did they know when you need to be like when you need that alone time?
It's like, you're probably not gonna die.
I'll leave the room for
like,
you need like 30 minutes. Are you good? Are you good?
I'll just come back when the buzzing noise stops.
I'll wait outside. I'll hang out with the dog for a little bit and I'll just check on you a little bit.
Oh wait, what are you doing with the belt? Nope. I'm unfortunately gonna have to stay
and supervise this one.
Like, oh, actually nope. No. I'm gonna pop out. But I'm just gonna go straight to the banshee and let her know that like
we're just gonna let her know.
She about to do her thing while you do that thing.
Okay, wait. Say it again. So you have your own personal, what did they call it?
Observer.
That
follows you around and then reports back to the banshee.
That also makes it sound very corporate. Like you've got, like you have a
Big Brother is watching you.
Like you have like an intern that's assigned to you who's watching you.
Oh,
I hate that.
And this is just teeny little, like, just excerpt quote thing from one of the articles that made me think of you. Shrieks from the forest are never pleasant. And I'm just like, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree with that statement. Shrieks from the forest. I would say, I'd like to add, shrieks from the forest are never pleasant and should always be investigated.
I feel like you would be should be, like, you're the run and hide camp.
Well, yeah,
I'm camp investigation. You're camp run and hide.
I'm not an authority figure. I'm a lay person. Yes. I would go run and hide, and I'd have an authority figure go investigate. That's truly, I've realized so much. Like, I have no idea how I survived as a single person. Like, I take a lot of pride in, like, being independent and, like, I don't know, strong, whatever, independent, knowledgeable. But also, Jarek had to reteach me how to, like, jumpstart a car today. And also, like, if there was a knock on the door right now, I would just hide in this room and make Jarek, like, there's so many things that I just make Jarek do.
Anyway, so in summation, I hope everyone is even more confused about Banshees than they were when they started this episode.
And more concerned about your personal observer that's watching you. So,
do Banshees only exist for certain families? Can you only hear them if you were of that family, or you the one who's about to die? I mean,
yes.
What's going on? But
yes to all of the questions.
Are there lots of banshees? Is banshee a race or species of creature, or are they ghosts? One. Or, you know, and here's one last quote that I really enjoyed from my research was, banshees, whether good or bad, are just as individual as any member of the family they haunt.
Ooh, banshees are individuals. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
I also like that the answer.
I'm here for banshees' rights.
I like that the answer to every question though was
yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This is a yes episode.
This is the improv edition.
Yes, and
yes and
yes
yes and. Are they this or that? Yes. And
also this.
Yeah. And also the whole, like, well, what about this? We'll get to that. Like, I'm going to make a statement. Next, I'm going to make a completely contradictory statement. But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. That's another section. That's a sub-point.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
That was really good. I enjoyed that.
Me too.
I will be terrified of all sounds that I hear tonight. Which, to be fair, is not many. We don't get too many weird sounds. Weird screaming sounds. Although I did hear a weird screaming sound while we were walking Kelly earlier today. But I assumed it was an animal.
So even though I'm not pure Irish stock,
mm-hmm.
I do hail from, you know, my Irish ancestry mm-hmm. does hail from a O family.
Oh.
So my mother's maiden name is Gailey.
Ooh.
And the lore on our family is that it used to be O'Gailey.
Okay.
But they dropped the O when they immigrated to the States.
Gotcha.
So if it's an O,
mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if my line has a banshee.
You might.
It's possible because I'm pretty sure I've got one. I've been hearing shrieks and wails and mournful cries for the last 19 months.
Do they come from a certain area in your house?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like
That's
the back
weird.
half of the house where the nursery is.
That's so weird. That's
always coming from there. I have to go in there every time to investigate what that noise is.
That's probably where the banshee is. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I bet Walker probably knows.
Oh, Banshee and Walker are probably tight.
They're probably
AF.
friends. Yeah.
It's weird. Walker's always awake when I go in to go investigate.
So weird.
On
the Banshee probably wakes him up.
I bet he does.
So weird.
Or she does.
That's weird.
Or does Walker wake the Banshee?
Chicken or the egg? It's classic question.
Basically, you know, I just worry about who's been dying for the last
year
and a half.
You have a lot of acquaintances.
There's a lot of people that I'm sorry if we've met, like even briefly in the last, in our lifetime, because
you've caused a lot of
you
deaths.
might be next.
Or sorry, not caused, just announced.
No, I have nothing to do with the death. The Banshee has nothing to do with the death. She's just letting me know
that it's happening.
That somebody about to die.
Although maybe it's just been, what'd you say, 19 months of just one whole long announcement. Maybe it's just announcing your death.
Yeah.
Your eventual death.
Oh yeah, it's coming. I can feel it.
Well, I can say with pretty good certainty that I'm not Irish, although I am very pale. Pretty sure we are Scottish.
Mm-hmm. There are banshees in Scottish lore,
but we're not mostly Scottish. We're like Scots English, Scottish and English, and Swiss. We're very white, but like we're from all over in Europe, so we're okay. Surely. Okay, well.
And I didn't show any pictures tonight specifically because of... If I was going to show any, I wanted to at least get through the description first. And there are, some images of banshees. There's obviously no photos of banshees.
Picture any woman that you know. And then picture... I just hit myself in the face with the mic. and then picture that woman screaming.
Mm-hmm.
And
wailing.
Or wailing. Or crying.
Keening.
Screaming twice. Try picturing her shrieking twice.
Hey, if you hear a banshee, I don't know. They're not Santa Claus, but go ahead and, leave a glass of wine out for them or crack open a beer for them, Pay them for their services.
I wonder what happens if you leave them a comb. Like, if you reverse it.
What if I put a comb out?
Yeah, maybe you get reversed,
right.
good fortune.
If anyone has a silver comb, send it to us.
Yeah.
And we'll set it out. We'll lay the trap for the banshee.
Yes, except far away. Katie will do that because I don't want anything to do with the banshee.
Yeah. Well, I'll get my banshee to help me.
Yes. Katie will deal with the banshees.
You know what I discovered this weekend?
What?
My banshee apparently really likes BMX and strawberry lemonade.
What the fuck?
Mumfest. Critter really enjoyed watching the BMX show.
Nice.
He enjoyed it yesterday, and then we went back today, and the crowd, they're all like, all right, clap. The louder you get, the more tricks they'll do.
Yeah.
And so he'd go, woo! He was having a ball.
Where was there a BMX show?
At Mumfest.
Where?
Down by the river. Near where the dog trick show. The dog show was.
There's a dog show at Mumfest?
Yeah.
Damn,
they
I gotta go
catch
to this.
the frisbees and they run the agility course.
We always skip Mumfest. I gotta go sometime. Mm-hmm. Oh well.
Just come park at my house and we can walk down.
We really should.
That's what I did. We walked
and we
down yesterday and today.
Ride our bikes down.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. Yeah. Well, if you want to not see any pictures, or if you want to see pictures from previous episodes, I'll post a picture of a generic looking banshee.
There's lots of good, I was gonna mention, there's lots of good artistic representations of banshees. Just do a Google search, or I might find a couple to send you.
I'm sure that's what I'll do in the next 2 days. You can follow us on Instagram at the Tales We Tell podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook at the Tales We Tell podcast. Mm-hmm. If you don't do social media, you can check out our website, which is thetaleswetellpodcast.com. I don't normally do these, so I'm trying to remember everything. Let's see. If you want to support us, let's see. If you want to support us, you can get yourself some sweet, sweet swag by going to our Redbubble store. You can go to redbubble.com, search The Tales We Tell, I think, or just The Tales We Tell podcast. I don't know, one of those.
It's The Tales We Tell.
Okay. Search that. We've got a bunch of different logos up there, and you can get it on anything.
I'm working on a new logo design for us, too.
Ooh, Katie's working on a new logo design. Is it Alcatraz related?
It is not.
Damn.
You can design that one. I actually might have a rough sketch
Okay.
this week.
Nice.
And might put out a call for anyone who else is talented or graphic designers and wants to take my, crappy vision and turn it into an awesome reality.
Nice. I like. Anyways, go to redbubble.com, put some logos on something, a sweatshirt, a tote bag, a sticker. And if you don't need the stuff, but you still want to support us, you can go to patreon.com and search The Tales We Tell. You can get bonus episodes. You can get love notes, stickers, our undying love and affection.
Early access and commercial-free listening.
Early access and commercial-free listening. Thank you, Katy. And I think, did I cover everything? Is that it?
You got it.
Okay.
Well done.
Golly, I don't know how you do that every week. It's a lot to remember.
Routine.
It's. I swear I listen to you say it every time, and I'm like, that sounds so smooth. I could say that in my sleep, and I could not.
I was so nervous doing the intro.
Really?
I was so nervous.
It's very smooth.
I even tried to do my own Hannah podcast voice. You're listening to The Tales We Tell.
You're listening to The Tales We Tell.
Yeah, I did. I started out and I was like, ooh, that sounds more like midnight radio DJ, the smooth stylings of, and I'm like, no.
That's kind of what I go for. It's like my NPR voice.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back next week with a fresh new episode, and we will see you guys then.
Is it about another prison?
No, it's not. It is about another movie where I'm sticking with the movie theme.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about that.
On theme for that. So we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.